Shout out to our sponsors at ICONBet. Open source, decentralized gaming, no deposits, play straight from your wallet. ICONBet, made by the players, for the players. Eye on Icon is proudly supported by Icon Nation and the Icon community. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Eye on Icon. This is the episode where we bring you the news, that everything that has happened in Icon. But today, let's take a little bit of a different approach. We've been through a wild market night in the markets. Lots has happened. Icongrapher is with me. How are you, Icongrapher?
Pretty good. You know, I guess maybe we call this little segment group therapy or something like that, just to because I think there's a chunk of people I think who are there's a lot of familiar faces in the Icon community, but there's a lot of also new people too. I thought I don't think it was Icon related, but someone with a large Twitter account who does crypto posted a poll saying like, hey, when did you get into crypto? And one was like 2013, one was like 2017, and the other one was 2021. There might have been another year on there too. And the vast majority were 2021. So obviously with prices going up, you would expect some new entrants to be there, but clearly there are a lot of them. And so I think for a good chunk of them, it's their first major experience of going through this. Obviously, there've been a few bumps along the way, a few drawdowns on Bitcoin and alts and things like that. But generally speaking, since the beginning of the year, it's been pretty good time. So psychologically, I think it's hard for a lot of people. I think most of the Icon community, especially those who have been around forever, are taking it reasonably well. I woke up this morning and saw it and almost kind of laughed at myself just because it was kind of well, there's crypto. It didn't really impact me. I didn't have to sell at the bottom or anything like that. My only concern is I'm a little bit stuck on balanced where my collateral's locked. So I'm getting rebalanced a little bit, and usually I would try to buy back in by taking out a bit of a loan, but I'm kind of stuck on that. So that's the only stress point, and for me, it's my own little lesson in terms of risk management too, as far as using balanced. And I think a lot of people are probably learning that lesson as well. And it is it was quite the test run for balanced itself in terms of all the volatility and everything like that. And it looks like it's passing with flying colors as far as handling such a significant price drop and the system not breaking or anything like that. And the better news is nobody's been liquidated thus far, according to Scott. So that's certainly good.
That's right. That was a tweet that just came out before, which was good to see. I think the last time I felt like last night was the 2018 crash, where it was one of the black days in March, and ETH came crashing down from some amount to 89, and I was, the ETH version, MakerDAO's version. I had ETH locked up, and I had a liquidation price of $69, and ETH went right down to 80. And I thought I was safe, playing it safe at that time, having it so low. And I remember doom and gloom coming over me, thinking, "Oh no, my precious ETH is going to be sold." And I felt like that last night. Even with. I was in the same way, and it's interesting because when things are happening, you can't think clearly. So I found myself this morning a bit more relaxed, and I thought, I could have done a few things to mitigate my risk there, because I have been very cautious, and I've always told this to everyone. Be on the side of caution. My liquidation, I've kept it low at 47 cents, whatever I'm doing with balance, so that I don't want to find myself in losing my bags of ICX. So last night, similar to what you were just saying, Icongrapher, but I did have money in one of the pools, which is the BNUSDN SICX pool. Now, last night, in all the drama, I didn't even for a moment think, while everything was crashing in front of my eyes, I'll quickly pull out there, because that pool particularly, I'll end up with a bit more ICX, even though it's at lower value, due to impermanent loss. But I didn't think of it.
It is impermanent. It is impermanent though. So
exactly.
There's if it once we get back to equilibrium, you'll be I think we're fairly confident that ICX will get back up to the price that wherever it was that you put in the pool. So again, that the key in the impermanent loss is the im part.
Yeah.
So it can get back to equilibrium if you just let it sit there.
Totally. Yeah. And in this case, like, I would have had more ICX, and well, I guess as ICX natives, that's our goal, right? Hoarding it. So it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but I just didn't think of it. I didn't think of removing that collateral and paying down my loan and just getting myself into a safer position just in case. It's interesting when markets have taken a turn, and last night was a bad turn. It wasn't, these weren't your normal drops. This drop just kept going, and when it seemed like it was done, it fell even further. um yeah, it was a tough one emotionally to see it all play out. And this is not ICX related. Everything tanked. Like, yeah, Ethereum went from 4,300, 400, whatever it hit, and through the drop, it was, I don't know, what did it hit? It hit like under 2,000. Yeah,
I think on
1,900.
there's an exchange where it even wicked all the way down to like 1400 or something like that. I know. I think on there was an exchange where Icon fell all the way to 28 cents. So somebody certainly got lucky there and snagging some very really cheap ICX.
Yes, that is
But
good.
yeah, I think ever since the price of Bitcoin kind of stalled out a little bit and then started dipping, I think the first question people ask, who are veterans at least, is, "Oh, is this the end of the bull market?" And I think a couple of points. First is, in 2017, in July, there was a huge crash. I think it was around 35%. That Bitcoin did, and then obviously, it went. I think I think it went from like it was like 3K to like 1800 or something like that on
Now,
its run up.
Now, if I remember, that crash happened when the whole Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin ABC, all that saga, the chain split and everything was transpiring, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I can't remember the context, and also some, was that the cause or is that just a coincidence? I think,
Mm.
there's a lot of people who say that, you know, I think people are blaming Elon for this crash. I think, but a lot of other people who kind of follow the charts, they say no, this was pretty much going to happen anyway. It's just that it seems like it's Elon just because the timing kind of lined up. And so, I don't know which side's necessarily correct, but I think something to consider. But yeah, there was a huge downturn in 2017, and obviously we know how that turned out. I'm not quite sure how the market reacted. It's a little different back then, just because that was kind of right around the ICO phase. So the alt market really kind of wasn't structurally the same. But I think it just shows that just because there's a large sell off and a large dump doesn't necessarily mean that the bull market's over. I think the other point to consider is that traditionally bull markets, they don't end kind of, right, they don't kind of whimper out and then fall off a cliff, right? That's not typically what happens. What happens is, there's a crazy parabolic move. I think Bitcoin went from like, it was like 12K to 19K in 2017 in like, I don't know, 10 days or something,
Mm.
which was, even for that period, a really crazy move. I think Icon went from like $5 to $13 in like a week, and that was already after Icon had 50x or whatever what came from ICO. So it's, they you have that crazy parabolic move with like the highest volume possible out of that bull market, that bull cycle, and then it blows off, and then it crashes, and then it just steadily climbs down. So it would be a very weird ending bull market if this happened. I think a lot of people too have been frustrated to see that, ICX is, Bitcoin's gone up, you know, was it 20x or whatever, since its bottom. Now, ICX kind of been, I think it's done like, got up to 32x if you count the $3.20 wick. But I think people have seen other tokens seem to move a lot more and a lot more, greater returns since the bottom than ICX has, and it also seems like ICX is so far away from the all-time high, that there's a sense of, oh, are we kind of lagging behind? What's going on? I just think, if if your belief, and I think a belief that a lot of people have, is that, typically if you look at the past cycles and if you look at how the cycles flow, the real bull market lasts probably at least a year, and it kind of depends on when you technically say the bull market started. But I think if it were to end now, it would be like, you know easily the shortest bull market that crypto's ever seen. And I think it would be like half of what they've been in the past. So, if you say, okay, based on kind of how the cycles play out, let's say it'll end in September, October, maybe even goes to the end of the year. If you zoom out from that standpoint, there's a lot of time where a lot of price movement can happen, and even if ICX kind of starts going on a run and picks up $1 every couple of weeks or so, that still puts us on a pretty quick track to all time high. So again, it's frustrating to see us kind of we were hovering in the $2 range for a while there. I feel like it's been there for like 2 months now. But again, go look at kind of go look at how the past markets have played out. Again, even in 17, when ETH and Bitcoin kind of had their thing, they started a gradual kind of movement. At the beginning of the year, it was a slight uptick, and the trend moved in the right direction, but it wasn't like this crazy price movement, and people weren't getting rich overnight or anything like that. It wasn't until the very very end of the cycle when so many people got into the market. I'm sure most people who are listening right now, who if they didn't get in this time, they got in last time. It really does go crazy at the very end there. And so if it were to just kind of whimper out this time, it would be a very suspicious way to end it, especially barring really there weren't any huge structural change. It's not like there was some crazy FUD where the U.S. government came out and said, oh, we're, banning anyone who mentions Bitcoin or, anything like that.
Well,
So, I think we're still mid cycle this is my opinion on investment advice or anything like that. It's just kind of how I'm approaching things. I'm not going to be concerned about the ending of a bull market until I see that crazy volume, crazy price movement, crazy euphoria, everything like that.
yeah, look, first of all, one of the things I know a correction was due. It was a harsh correction. In fact, there was a tweet. Elon actually tweeted again. Oh, bless him. That diamond hands, just two symbols, implying he's not selling his Bitcoin. Finally, something positive. And that we saw the markets rally a little bit after that. But a few interesting things that I keep an eye on. I follow a couple of the on-chain metrics scenarios, and I really live by that to see what's going on chain and the various indicators they have, especially with Bitcoin, Ethereum coming and leaving the exchanges. Now, those metrics, for the first time last night when I went to sleep and woke up this morning, I had 15 separate messages where there was huge outflows of exchanges of BTC. Now that's a really good sign. So if they're inflows, it implies people are moving it to the exchange to sell, and there was a lot of this happening. But around 2,000, 3,000 per random times. Last night there was 15,000, 10,000, 8,000 outflows, but in between there, 3,000 inflows happening. Now I've never seen that many messages happen in one night, so you can see that. One, the market is scared, but two, someone is in there scooping up all this BTC at these levels and removing it off exchanges right away. So that I find very interesting. And yeah, look, I don't know. Again, one thing, as Iconographer mentioned, we don't know. We're speculating as well. Every run has shown some things similar. However, in the end, random stuff happens. I do hope we're not at the end. I don't believe so. As Iconographer said, I feel we haven't had that. Well, we've had BTC and ETH. I feel ETH has not had its real move up that it should have. But alts in general, I feel haven't rallied as what I would have anticipated, given what we've seen BTC climb to. So it's interesting, and in this case, like compared to 2017, I keep coming back to a lot of the alts that are rallying, Aave, Matic now at the moment, or various others, they have real applications with users on them. Whereas in 2017, it was ICO. It was, I love that meme where you see the ICO, the horse, and this is what the pitch is, and as it shows the rest of the body, it turns into a stick figure. Because that's all it was. It was some papers out there and a hope and a dream.
It was ICOs and CryptoKitties. Those are the two use cases,
yeah,
essentially.
Exactly. So, I do feel it's different here. Another interesting fact that I keep seeing is they rate, how old the coins are the holders have. And a lot of constantly the focus has been it is all new coins in new hands that have bought at the top and are dumping scared. whereas everyone else who's had coins sitting in the wallets for a long time, those coins haven't actually moved. They've stayed still, which is another, good indicator. Look, it appears retail is a bit scared and fragile in this environment. It's not good. You want retail to succeed as well, but I saw someone in the Ethereum community, Anthony, he posted, maybe we should have known the top was in when we started seeing all the doggy coins. That's also a good point. That's
Yeah, and I think you'll see little frothy elements of the market and things like that. I think it's just, I think obviously Doge has done well. There's been certain other pockets of tokens that have done well, but again, usually it's the whole market that just kind of goes kind of crazy. And obviously we've seen some nice gains for alts across the board. Again, it doesn't feel like it because I know people are, based on the level of frustration I've seen from the ICX community. Clearly, there's kind of I imagine a lot of people probably bought at the mid twos, high twos, or even those who have been DCAing for 3 years, they've still just gotten anxiety because it's only gone up 10x and they expect it to hit all time high and it hasn't yet. So I think, I think kind of circling back to what you're saying as far as the new people selling at the top, the fact that the people who have been around for a while are holding, it does kind of, I think it shows that there's a nice base of support there. And so, the chances of it really kind of dipping crazy low like it has in the past, I think with each passing day gets less and less likely just because there's a larger community holding on. And for the long term, and isn't prone to panic selling, which is kind of, I think, what happens in the early stages of projects and tokens and everything like that. But obviously, we have a lot more to cover on the podcast, so we should probably switch off. And I kind of mentioning how there have been some frustration in terms of the community. I think, again, when price doesn't move to the extent that people want to see it, and especially when price goes down, I think there's a lot of frustration that grows out there. I kind of made a half joking but also kind of serious tweet saying that everyone talks about how decentralized their project is, which makes it so great. And they knock on other projects that aren't as decentralized and things like that, but then all of a sudden the price goes down and they need someone to blame, and that's when the project becomes very centralized, and all of a sudden being it's not the community that's part of the project. All of a sudden it's everything that's wrong with it is all the fault of one or five people or however many people are kind of seen as the main team. So I think kind of I would say in response to some of that criticism, but I think in a way to be kind of proactive as far as discussing and giving an update. Min Kim sent out a tweet basically saying, what I've done for the past month, and this is just him. Obviously, he's not the only one involved in Icon, but there's 6 new grants to dev teams for ecosystem growth. Made 3 new hires, and he said more on the way. 2 new investments, which aren't closed yet. They aren't closed yet. New banking partner, where he indicates the war chest is ready, and a lot of restructuring for ops improvements, meaning operations, things like that. So, and that's just the last month. So nothing crazy, nothing super sexy or anything like that. It kind of reminds me, there's another project I follow, and recently the kind of the head and the founder, he did like a little tweet thread, and he kind of talked about, and I'm sure if other people follow this project, they know what I'm talking about, but basically kind of said, hey, we don't have any crazy cool, mind-blowing changes or announcements, but hey, here's some of the stuff we've been doing behind the scenes that we think is important to the long-term success of the project. And there were like 8 to 10 tweets, but each one was pretty unimpressive, but you can understand when it comes to building something that's going to require long-term growth and sustainability. It was like bringing on expanding the legal team to deal with different regulatory changes, things like that. So again, a lot of this stuff can be super boring, and I think a lot of people want to see some crazy groundbreaking partnership every week, but a lot of this work, it is does get done behind the scenes, and it is important, but it's not always going to shake up the world and cause the price to go up and everything like that. So I think it's, as long as the trend is moving in the right direction, as long as there's growth and expansion and a desire to improve upon things, I think that's what's most important.
Yep, agree. Look, I really like the I don't know how to read into it, but when I see 6 new grants to dev teams for ecosystem growth, to me that's a great sign. Like, that is outside of CPS. This is stuff happening in the background. It goes to show that if you're looking at CPS and only see four projects, are you thinking, oh, well, okay, nothing's happening? No, not necessarily. There's still, stuff happening, and it's in the foundation's best interest at times, probably not to announce everything in full detail, but in the background, they are doing everything to support the growth of the Icon ecosystem. And to me, that first point, like, really highlighted it. It was like, okay, see, this is great. This is great to see. And if Min actually listens to this podcast, fingers crossed, please keep putting out tweets like this. Every week, if we can see stuff like this. I mean, I'm asking a lot here every week, but it's brilliant.
Every month maybe.
Yep, yep. Let's do week iconographer. Let's be greedy here.
Aim high.
Exactly. Even the new hires. This is something we know. There's a tech lead, and they've been looking for a few people. We know, apart from the marketing person, they haven't been successful with. A few others have been hired, so I'm really looking forward to seeing when they get introduced to the community, or what kind of input and influence, what roles they are and they have to the Icon ecosystem. But yeah, look, it's good to see stuff is happening. Look, and this is another thing. We spent first 15 minutes talking about price, emotions, just because we are riding through it as well. But you have to, I think, when it comes to the ecosystem and what's going on, detach the token price for a moment and go, okay, is there still activity happening regardless of what's going on in the market to ensure the ecosystem's growing? And I do believe this is the case. Next up, we have this has been a long time coming. We were waiting for a date, so we know that ICONFi, they have this app. It's a centralized wallet, but it automates everything, so you can put your ICX in there, stake it, automatically claims your rewards. At the same time, it claims the balance rewards for you as part of the airdrop, and you can put some of the stable coins are supported that earn interest. So it's an app that is kind of bridging the Icon ecosystem with some of the other major players. As we know, we originally launched as an ERC20 token, and through all the hype, some people haven't done their token migration. In fact, this is a constant topic on Reddit, and various new people are. I just remembered I had all this ICX, and it's on Ethereum. What do we do? So there was this manual process, quite tedious. However, ICONFi announced support that they would automate this, so it does the swap via the app. And we were waiting for a date, and we have one. June 8th, all Iconists will be able to, anyone who's left with the RC20 tokens, they'll have instructions, and it should be just as simple as sending it to the app, and they swap it across to Icon's IRC standard. Have I got that right, Iconographer?
Yeah, no, and I think this is a thing that I think both on as far as the Reddit mod team and also some of the support on Telegram, it seemed like 50% of their efforts were dedicated toward people popping up. I mean, I think they've been kind of popping up basically since the swap deadline, but I think especially as the Icon price started to heat back up again, I think people kind of it started getting more attention. I think people kind of popped up and said, "Oh yeah, don't I have some of that from back in the day?" And so there was definitely a surge earlier this year. So it is, I think that'll making such an easy process. I think it'll really help alleviate some of the effort and the work that went into kind of guiding a lot of people through that process. And yeah, it wasn't necessarily an easy process either. And it also kind of the way it was done, it kind of created a little bit of unease as far as from a security standpoint. As far as I know, there haven't been any issues, and everything's worked for those who have swapped it that way perfectly fine. But creating a much more easily trusted and user-friendly way to do that, I think it'll build further confidence, and also it's almost kind of free marketing for the ICONFi app as well. So that's kind of cool also.
Yeah.
Other piece of news. So EPICX, that's how I always say it. EPIC, but ICX, which if you've been listening to our podcast, especially within the last week or so, we have had Nblaze, who's the main project lead, on a couple times to explain that project and also give an update on the project most recently. So we're certainly big fans of it. He had hinted at there being, or I guess announced there'd be a beta when he did his interview, and they recently came out with more details about that. And basically, what they're going to do is select and provide exclusive early access to 200 their most eager supporters on Twitter, Telegram, and Reddit. So if you're not already kind of plugged in and engaged on those channels and want to participate in the beta, be sure to do that. I think they're just kind of looking for people who are enthusiastic about the project, whether it's promoting it, having memes about it, just kind of getting the word out about it. I think that's kind of what they're looking for. And so I think believe it starts June 1st is when the beta is, and so I'm certainly hoping we're fortunate enough to get access to that. And I look forward to playing around with that. And I think, I might be doing I don't want to overpromise necessarily, but I may be doing a write-up on the project for the Icon Spotlight series that I do, just kind of explaining some dApps, because I do think I like it both from a standpoint of I think it'll create a lot of activity on the chain, but also I just think it's kind of a cool idea. And there's been so many times where I've seen, people on the social channels say, oh, Icon's definitely not going above X price or below X price or whatever it might be. And so now you can actually kind of put your money where your mouth is, and in a very kind of fun and competitive way to do various games, gamified trading, and all that other stuff. So I'm excited personally for the project, but also as an Icon holder in terms of what it can do for the network itself and the ecosystem.
Yep. Look, I like how they're going about picking the 200. Actively, people, they want you to tweet and promote it and get it out there. And what's cool is, even though it's a closed beta, it's on mainnet, and part of the tokenomics, they have got a native token that you do earn by using the various apps on the platform. And what you earn while in the closed beta, you will earn, and you get to keep. They don't get burnt or anything. So it's a nice win there. And I've already seen straight after this, we saw quite a lot of the community have memes already getting tweeted out, which was great to see. So it's clearly worked, and definitely I'm excited about it as well. I like the idea that it's been being built for quite a while, and it's not just one. There's various dApps to it, so it's not one game. Each game is a different dApp, so it's creating another ecosystem of games, which is great to see. And as you said, it should have a significant impact to on-chain activity as well, which is what we want, and a step in the right direction. So very excited for this to. I'm excited about the closed beta, but I'm excited about it actually launching to everyone. So the next bit of news that we have, and let's switch to balance orientated news. So first things first, we have a new pair listed. It is the Balance and SICX pair. There are reasons this pair has been listed, but I love it because this is one where you can supply liquidity. There is rewards, so you do earn balance for supplying liquidity. When you do supply liquidity, because you're supplying SICX, which is already staked, and balance, as soon as balance is entered into pool, it's staked as well. So you've got two tokens that are earning you staking rewards. At the same time, they're both tokens you kind of want. So in whatever scenario IL is happening, you're always ending up with more of one. And that's not a bad thing. It's kind of a win-win situation here. So what are your thoughts of this pair listing?
Yeah, it's nice because it kind of gives you both. It gives you both exposure to both. I guess you could say speculative assets on Icon. Right now it's kind of, if you wanted to be in the Balance USD pool, in the Balance pool, you only had exposure to one of those assets being Balance. Obviously, BNUSD is a little less exciting. So just the fact that it kind of lets you hedge a little bit, and if both tokens go up in price, and it does seem like there's a correlation there where the price of ICX does seem to be correlated with the price of Balance and vice versa. That you can enjoy kind of both and not have to worry about if Balance goes up and I've got half my money in dollars, then I'm kind of missing out on that appreciation. Obviously, there are kind of concerns about impermanent loss and things like that, but at the same time, if the dollar value of both of them is kind of going up similarly over time, if ICX is going up and Balance is going up, you'll still see kind of your overall portfolio grow. So it's almost like a little little index fund, a little mini index fund for assets on the Icon network. So that's certainly kind of cool. And and there's another way to earn yield, another way to drive more activity on the Balance network, which is obviously good from a fee standpoint.
Agree. Then what else do we? And there's a few other things in place. As iconography mentioned, there was at the moment before the only way you could move between it was always constantly moving into BNUSD, which was causing a lot of pressure on the peg, etc. So this particular pair helps with that as well. So and that's why you see this happen across all different dexes. So it was good to see this implemented. I know the team did it quite quickly, and you're still getting the balance rewards. So a lot of the people who have jumped in really early on are probably reaping the benefits of getting in that pool early in the first 24 hours. Since there's lower liquidity, there's more balance to be dished out to everyone, so that's good to see. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now the
Uh,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to call out while we're on the balance airdrip every week. Anyone who isn't using the balance platform, just has a stake normally, there's a site, we'll have it in the show links to go and claim your airdrip. This is now compounded to 90,000, I think, from memory, balanced.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, yeah. And now the way this works is every week, if you're staking and you don't claim it, you lose that week's share, and it just gets compounded into the following week, and everyone can claim a bit more. It seems like it's been now 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and the pot just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So it appears not a lot of people know about this or just aren't going to have a look. I mean, each balance is worth $6 at the moment, and that's free money. Get in there if you're staking. It's simple. You just literally connect your wallet, and it will tell you the information. I will caution though. I notice a lot of people run the minute it switches over to the new week. Probably just there's no rush. Wait a day and then go in, because sometimes the site does get hammered by people who do know that you can go and claim. So if you go there right on the day and it isn't loading up, or there's issues, don't be discouraged. Take some time, revisit it in the following day, and claim your balance. It's just it's free money.
So, want to point out a tweet that Ricky made, Ricky Dodds, who's obviously also highly involved in the Icon project, for those who are aware. And basically, he did something similar to kind of, I talked about this, I did an article about it, basically trying to kind of place a value on balance and point out that there's ways to look at it that make it look undervalued. He took a kind of a similar approach, but used kind of different math. He looked at it from a PE ratio, which is, even in traditional investing terms is price to earnings. So you look at the price of a share versus their annualized earnings as far as the stock, and it kind of shows it's a barometer of telling how maybe undervalued or overvalued the stock is based on that ratio. So he pointed out that balance is basically at a 10x price to earnings. So if I think I don't know the exact math he did it, but I assume he kind of took what the fees are, annualized it, and then kind of looked at that as far as the market cap of balance is concerned as well. And I don't want to quote that for sure because I don't know his exact math, but he pointed out that essentially at the same ratio, the median for other DeFi protocols is 41x. So on a fully diluted basis over 1 year and 2 year periods, and I'm quoting him here, it's still very low compared to peers. And he said based on the TVL to market cap, revenue, etc. So, and he pointed out, this is just with one synthetic being the BNUSD asset, which is the one kind of asset you generate from the platform. And he said, wonder what happens when BTP launches. So, I think whether you're a financial expert or not, I think that the clear cut summary here is essentially that based on kind of the math, that if you applied it to all their DeFi protocols, that again, balance is it's still early days and still very undervalued as far as the token's concerned, and also it's still very early stages in terms of growth and potential. So obviously a bullish tweet, but just wanted to call that out and point that out just because it's another piece of evidence that there's another case for why balance token might be undervalued at this point in time.
So one of the things he does say in his tweet, and this is just one synthetic asset BNUSD. Now, I do see a lot of this because I'm in the balanced Telegram groups and I try to help as much as I can. And a lot of people first straight away go, oh, but BNUSD can only be used on balance. Now, everyone has to keep perspective in mind here, okay? When Maker DAI is one of the biggest stable coins that is minted in a decentralized manner. Okay, we all know this. It's probably got the biggest adoption. All the exchanges have it, etc. It's minted via locking ETH. Say in a similar way, think of balance. It's done in that way. Now, originally, when Maker launched, and it was called Psi, this was a stablecoin before they changed it to DAI. The only use case was you would mint it and go and buy more ETH. It didn't have adoption on any exchanges. It had nothing. That was its sole use case, not soul. So this is similar in balance. Like, it's just launched. Things are getting worked through. The peg. These are things that every protocol like this have these teething issues to work through. People need to get used to rebalancing, things like that. It's part of how the protocol is designed. So, and this is just one asset. Now, this is why I like everyone's getting caught up. Soon, balanced will be used to mint whatever we choose, various dollars of different, countries, or and not even all and stocks, anything. It can be used for all of this. So people need to just keep that in mind. It can't just happen instantly. We have to get the foundation right, and then as things get set up, voting will come into play, then these things will start to happen. So it does take time. It's not a 2-3 day kind of thing, but keep that in mind when you're thinking balance. It's not just about BNUSD. It as more assets get minted, more dApps across the Icon ecosystem grow. BTP, that's a solid hint. Once that's hooked up, it enables the asset to move into other blockchains, decentralized ecosystems. So, everyone keeps going, when exchange. Like, it'll happen across blockchain ecosystems, and whenever exchange happens, centralized exchanges, it'll happen. But at the moment, the team's focus is correct. They need to get this right, and BTP is an exciting feature that'll add immense value to the balance ecosystem as well. Now, I could keep rambling about that, but one other app I wanted to dApp that's on the Icon ecosystem recently launched. We know it's the NFT Bazaar. Now, I wanted to get some stats out around this. We've done it for balance, but this is quite impressive as well. So the NFTs minted to date is 1,299. NFTs sold to date is 618. And at the moment, there's 724 NFTs for sale. So since launch, there's been around 6,600 transactions on the bazaar itself, from purchases, mintings, backings, payouts. Now, on this note, I haven't covered a tutorial here, and I am going to get to the NFT Bazaar tutorial around it. But one of the unique features I had discussed earlier in the podcast is they use their LDX token as a backing mechanic. So you as a user could see some NFTs for sale and go, you know what, this NFT looks excellent. I don't want to buy it, but I'm going to back it with some LDX. And what that does is, when it does sell, whatever it does sell for, you'll get a portion, a small percent of the sale based on the amount of backing you put to it. So in this scenario, there's 130 ICX that is currently due to backers, but the catch here is, it's not really a catch. You actually do have to go and claim it. So part of the sale happens, and you have to log in and check whatever you're backing. Has that NFT been sold? If it has, there'll be a claim button, and you click on it, and then you get your share of the profits. So just make sure that if you have been using the platform, you do go and check that. And if you haven't, definitely check it out, because it's a great way to get in on some NFTs. If you notice something is selling for 400 or 500 and you're like, wow, that is amazing, you can back it and earn a small portion of those royalty fees. So yeah, some great stats coming out of there. It's good to see. Excited to see how the platform keeps evolving on that front as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Okay, I think look, I think that's all. If we were to jump back to the balance news, the only other thing to keep in mind, and I think we didn't spend too much time Icongrapher, but maybe we should give it some love, is the rebalancing aspect. We know it's been happening frequently. The team have been listening and they've made some changes. And straight after those changes, you probably notice the rebalancing hasn't been as frequent. But that said, it is part of the process. What needs to happen to ensure the peg stays for BNUSD. I have created some tips on how you can manage that at the moment. Look, from my point of view, the current changes that some of these changes are great. That 5% buffer is probably not ideal for maintaining the peg. However, I think in the long term, once more users come on board, things like this, we would not feel the impact of rebalancing as much. What are your thoughts around this, Icongrapher?
Yeah, I think while it was pretty well established in the white paper and things like that, I also recognize that not every user is necessarily going to dig through the entire white paper or things like or anything. So there's been a lot of confusion and concern about the rebalancing factor. I will say, a lot of it can be pretty much mitigated to where it doesn't really make that much of a difference if you're kind of vigilant over it. But it was nice to see them kind of pivot quickly and try to put in a solution to that that would at least resolve that issue. I think it's a situation where as the price goes down, people want to rebalance because they want to distance themselves from that liquidation price. So they'll go ahead and kind of work on redeeming or paying back those loans and things like that. So I think as the price goes down, I think over time you'll see rebalancing go up. But as the price goes up, I think people will be more inclined to take out loans and things like that. So I think it's a bit of a, I won't say perfect storm, but the fact that balance has been out for a little more than 3 weeks now, and I'd say about half that time has been in a kind of I don't want to say a bear market, but certainly a downtrend, and also especially the last few days a very violent downtrend with a lot of volatility. And so it's kind of people after only 3 weeks of using it have been kind of drawing conclusions and kind of saying, oh wow, this is rebalancing has really screwed this up, and I think I'm down money, or I'm up only a little bit of money. And I think from my perspective, it's kind of, let's, before making a conclusion about the to what extent the protocol as a whole makes a return, to what extent it's working well or working not well. I think we need more data over time. We need more kind of a different sample of kind of what the way the market kind of flows. What are the impacts? Say ICX goes up $3 in a month. Fingers crossed. How does balance react to that? Say it goes back down after that. We've currently got already gotten a preview of that kind of a downturn and a plummet based on what's happened over the last 24 hours or so. So we know how that works. And again, it looks like, the impact is potentially a lot of rebalancing. But now with that they went from 0.5 to 5%. That's a 10x as far as the fee for rebalancing is concerned. So I think you'll see a lot less of that unless people really, really need to, just to get back on that liquidation or away from that liquidation point. But this itself isn't necessarily a free change because now there's less of a peg. So if you're trying to buy or sell BNUSD, it's actually going to be, whether than $1, it's more about, it's about $1.05. So there's already, Scott on Twitter pointed out someone who was already frustrated by this. So, everything on here is a trade-off. Nothing comes for free. I've been kind of talking about how, there's a, what's nice about balance is if you play it right, you can get 2, 3, 400% yield based on how things are going, which you can't really get anywhere in the real world for the most part. But it's not just free money. It's that money's there to compensate you for risk, and one of the risks in this case of using balance for the collateral with taking out the loan is you end up with some I guess you could say rebalancing risk. Again, if you're vigilant and kind of play it right, it's really not that big of a deal as far as I'm concerned. But again, I think just look at things kind of bigger picture wise, whether it's in terms of what are you actually getting out of the platform in terms of your earnings and your yield, but also, let's kind of let it play out and see how the platform operates under a longer period of time with a lot more different market conditions and everything like that. So
Yeah.
I know it feels like it's been around for a while, but it's a really brief amount of time in the grand scheme of things.
Look, agree. And remember, it is new and we are new users. There are risks associated with that as well. So the best
Right.
thing we can do is be educated. What is most important to know, the rebalancing aspect is part of the system. It is meant to be like that. At the moment, yes, it looks like we have to keep checking on it every day, but don't forget, when things like this happen, innovation happens as well. For example, again, I like to cross over to Ethereum a lot. Same thing, MakerDAO released. It wasn't a user-friendly system. We saw InstaDApp, DeFi Saver, various other dApps come into play that utilized what Maker did, but simplified the process, whereas click of a button, things got automated where it would pay back your debt or take out a loan automatically, etc. So things like this, once these dApps launch, all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, here's a clear use case. If the protocol doesn't make this improvement, someone else will step in and put an added layer of simplicity to it. So I'm not saying this is happening, but there is opportunities. This is what will start to happen in this space. So be patient, be calm, know that this is part of the process, and really ask the right questions on what you can do to mitigate a lot of this. So ICONGraph has been sharing tips, I've been sharing tips, and we'll continue to do that. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that's it. Look, today was more about spending a bit of time talking about the market. It is playing a huge weight on our emotions. So everyone, be calm out there. Remember, not financial advice. Anything could happen from here on out. This daily candle is not looking too healthy of BTC, but I'm still optimistic. But yeah, stay safe out there, everyone. Thanks as always for listening. If you like it, subscribe, share this around. Definitely share it around. If the fact that people aren't claiming their airdrips is alarm bells for me, they need to know about Ion Icon. So let's get it out there. Thanks everyone for listening.
Have a good week.